What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today is part 3 of the ammunition test results. If you have not seen part 1 or part 2, please visit the description down below so that way you can watch the 2 previous videos to show how I do this test. However, I will be doing a quick recap anyway. So these are the offerings from the part 1, which was Super X, Remington Express, Aguila, Troy, and Monarch, and then part 2, Federal Powershok, 2 3/4 double up buck, Winchester Defender, Remington triple up buck, Winchester, the military grade Winchester, and then the SMB. That was part 2. And in part 3, we're going to be going over Federal Powershok, Hornady Black, Hornady Critical Defense, Barnes Defense, and Federal Flight Control. Okay, and I have all the data here, and then I have all the targets here that I will show you. So just a quick recap on how we did this test, or how I did this test and conducted this test. This test here is a 25-yard test, okay? And if you watch my range and lethality video for shotguns, it will also be in the description below. I would say revisit that. You'll understand why we're basically setting the requirements the way we are, the way I am, sorry. 25-yard test, we have 3 shotguns, and each shotgun is going to shoot the load twice. And then we're going to take all 6 shots, and we're going to get an average pellet hit on target. And that's how we're going to score them, with that average number. Now, the requirements. 5 pellets is a safe minimum. 4 pellets is an absolute minimum. And again, the range and lethality video will explain why. No less than 44% of the pellets from that target from that load need to be on target, right? So the reason why we have a 44% rule is because 4 out of 9 pellets, which is our absolute minimum, is 44%. So if we want to compare to number 1 buck or compare it to number 4 buck, we're going to use that 44% rule, so that way it's somewhat on the same page, right? You must meet 4 pellets minimum at the longest effective range. Now, number 4 buck, that is 11 yards. Number 1 buck is 51 yards. And then double up buck is 104 yards. There is some triple up buck in here. Obviously, that can go a little further. However, I don't know what is the longest lethal range for triple up buck. But either way, let's get into the 3 shotguns that we tested it out of. Now, the 3 shotguns are Maverick 88 with the 18.5-inch barrel that is cylinder bore, a 20-inch Mossberg 500, which is also cylinder bore, and a 28-inch Mossberg 500 again, but this one is a modified choke. So we have a little bit of choke action there, no pun intended. But either way, the target that was used, obviously, we're talking about like how many pellets we're getting on target. The target is a USPSA target. And again, I have every single one marked up so that way you guys can see like the first trigger pull and the second trigger pull. So the way I'm going to end up doing this here, and I'll get into the results here in a minute, but again, explaining what I'm going to end up doing is I'll say 18-inch. I know it's 18.5. Forgive me, but I'll say 18-inch, tell you how many pellets were hit on the first trigger pull, second trigger pull, and then an average, and then go to the next gun on the way down. And then I will have a overall number of the average of all 6 hits, and then I'll write that number right here on the side. So that's the way it's going to work. And since you know how that works now, I'm going to go over right here the ammunition, just a quick recap for part 1 and part 2. Super X it did 8.66 average pellets. Remington Express 8.16, Aguila 5.83, which is our worst. Troy did 7.66, Monarch did 8. In part 2, Federal Powershok double up buck did 7.33, Winchester Defender was 8.16, Remington triple up buck did 7. However, that is a 8 pellet load. Winchester military grade, that was 8.16. SMB did 8.13. So we have a good amount of them that are pretty high and doing pretty well at 25 yards, okay? So now let's get into Federal Powershok, Hornady Black, Hornady Critical Defense, Barnes Defense, and Federal Flight Control. So the first one here is the Federal Powershok. This is a 3-inch shell. All right, I tested the 2 3/4 one, but this is a 3-inch shell with 15 pellets of double up buck, and it has a tremendous amount of kick. So on the first trigger pull, we got 10 pellets. Second trigger pull, 13 pellets, and an average of 11.5 pellets, and that is out of the 18.5-inch Maverick 88, right? So on the 20-inch Mossberg 500 cylinder bore barrel, 14 pellets on the first trigger pull. Second trigger pull was 12 pellets for an average of 13. And then on the 28-inch mod choke, first trigger pull was 13 pellets. Second trigger pull was 14. And then for an average of 13.5. Now, if we average all of that, that is 12.66 pellets on target between all 6 hits. Now let's go over the targets here. So first trigger pull is going to be stripes. Second trigger pull is going to be circles, but I'll go over them. And luckily I did them in red. But either way, first trigger pull for the 18.5 inch is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A little bit low, but my point of aim is here. If you guys seen the previous video, you know where my point of aim is, pretty much trying to split it right here. But it was a little low, and then we have 2 flyers up top. Second trigger pull was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Again, majority of them went a little low. Now for the 20 inch. The 20 inch, you guys know already by this point that this is my problem child. But it likes to do a little bit high. So the first one, it got 14 pellets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Which is kind of weird. I mean, I'm aiming here. We got flyers over here, and then we got kind of a group up here. It's just wild. Either way, the second trigger pull was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Pretty much, this is my point of aim. I got 1 pellet there, and then everything else just went. And I got a few in the, that one's kind of touching the A box. This one is in the A box here in the head. But either way, 20 inch. Right, and then here is the 28 inch. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And the second one, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I mean, not gonna lie, this is kind of weird where all these pellets are going and spreading on all of the different loads. I tell you, the ones from part 1 and part 2 looked a little bit better with the exception of the Gila. But yeah. Is it worth having more pellets? That's something for you guys to judge. However, they put a lot of pellets on target. So now we're going to move to the Hornady Black. And some people have said they have gotten pretty bad results with Hornady Black, which I thought was kind of weird. But let's see what we got. 18-inch cylinder bore. We got 8 and 8 for an average of 8 pellets. The 20-inch. The first trigger pull was 4 pellets. And then the second trigger pull was 8 pellets. I don't like that consistency because we have 100% of the load, then 50% of the load. Which I'm not happy with that percentage-wise. I would really like to see a little bit more consistency from the ammunition. So the fact that I saw that, it gets me a little bit worried. But that's an average of 6 pellets. For the 28-inch modified choke, the first trigger pull was 7 pellets. The second trigger pull is 8 pellets for an average of 7.5. So the total average of pellets on target is 7.16, right? Which is, let's see. Let's compare it to part 1. It's still better than, it's still above the Remington triple up buck, right? Which is also an 8 pellet load. But the triple up buck is going to hit harder, and it was a lot more consistent than that, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I don't want to see 100% of the load and then 50% of the load on target. So let's look over the targets here. 18-inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome. On the second trigger pull, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome. I mean, not bad. There was some, on the second shot, there's some vertical stringing that way. But on the first shot, it was pretty grouped here. Again, point of aim was here. That one a little bit to the right. That's the first time this gun has gone a little bit to the right. Okay, so 20-inch. This is the one. This is, again, my problem child. So first shot, 4 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I thought that was a circle for a minute. But 1, 2, 3, 4. That is absolute ass. And the spread that I caught was 20.25 inch from here to here. Where did the other 4 pellets go? Okay, second trigger pull, which is, I would consider perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's not too bad. That was 8 pellets on target, but 12.1/8 inch spread. Not too bad, but yeah, just don't like that inconsistency. Now, the modified choke, 28-inch barrel. First trigger pull was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. And then second trigger pull was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have a massive flyer from here to there, right? And then we have kind of a, I guess, a group here. And then there's must have been a flyer. No, sorry. The second shot was 8 hits. So 8 hits with a 10 3/4 inch spread right here. But on the first trigger pull, we had 7 and then 1 massive fly here. And we don't know where the other one went because there's 1 missing. But either way. Honestly, as of this point of the test, it's okay. I mean, it's hitting our minimum requirements, but I'm not exactly too excited about the Hornady Black. So, will the Hornady Critical Defense do any better? So let's look that over. These are the targets. Yes, these are the targets right here. Okay, so 18.5 inch. First trigger pull is 7. Second trigger pull is 8 for an average of 7.5. Now, out of the 20-inch cylinder bore barrel, we have 7 on the first trigger pull, 5 on the second, which is already getting low for an average of 6. And then now on the modified choke, critical defense, we have 6 on the first shot, 6 on the second shot for an average of 6. And the average pellets on target with all of those put together is 6.5 pellets out of 8, which is actually technically worse than the Hornady Black. And these are both 8 pellet loads. So let's look at the targets. So this is the, whoops, grabbed the wrong one. 18-inch first. First trigger pull, we got 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know where the other one went, but it's pretty close. What did get on target is 8 and 1/4 inch spread right here. Not bad. But we have 1 missing. Now, on the second one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All 8 there, and that is a 12-inch spread. So, not too bad out of an 18.5-inch barrel. My point of impact was here, and then we got majority of the impacts in there. I'd say that's pretty okay for the 18-inch. Now, for the 20-inch. Whoops. Everything's just falling today. Again, if you guys have seen, this gun likes high and right for some freaking reason with a bunch of different loads. So, 7 hits on the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So we got, these are kind of out in their own space. This is a little bit closer to these 4, but the second shot was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know what happened. Again, to the right, and I was aiming right here. But either way, average of 6 pellets there. Now, 28-inch with the modified choke. First trigger pull, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pretty centered. Okay, second trigger pull, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we got 3 right here. And then we had these 3 doing their own little dancer things. And a lot of people are like, oh, don't use a modified choke with a flight control wad. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Because we're now moving into the more expensive loads, which are going to be the Barnes Defense and the Federal Flight Control is last. There's a reason why I put it last. So hang on. Barnes Defense. Now, this is the most expensive load that I tested, which is over $4 a round. So it's like $20.99 or $21.99 before taxes for 5 shells. So that's over $4 a round, okay? Let's see if $4 a round is worth it. So for the first trigger pull out of the 18.5 inch, I don't know if you guys can see me smiling, but I'm smiling harder than the mother. First trigger pull, 9 pellets. Second trigger pull, 9 pellets. For an average of 9 pellets out of the 18.5 inch. Now, Mossberg 500 with a 20-inch. First trigger pull, 9 pellets. Second trigger pull, 9 pellets for an average of 9 pellets. Mossberg 28-inch, modified choke. First trigger pull, 9 pellets. Second trigger pull, 9 pellets. For an average of 9 pellets, which means we have our first perfect score. Bang. And now, the Barnes Defense just dethroned the Super X for the lead. Interesting. So don't tell me modified choke is caca. Don't tell me that. Because we're going to see what a Federal Flight Control does. And if the Barnes doesn't give you a hint of what the Federal Flight Control is going to do, you sleeping. Okay, 18.5 inch Barnes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Little bit kind of bigger spread, but it's a 15 3/4 inch spread at 25 yards. We got all pellets on target. 100% of the pellets that we got out of this load are on the target. Now, second shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A little bit more to the right. And this is kind of getting on the edge, but that was a 13 1/4 inch spread. Not bad at 25 yards. Usually people say 1 inch per yard. We're basically not, well, we're definitely 10 inches under for majority of this, but this is really good. I'm pretty happy with this. Now, Mossberg 500. This also had a perfect score, 9 and 9. Even with this thing shooting like high and to the right and having some issues, it still did 9 and 9 at 25 yards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right here. Point of aim was right here, and that's what I got right here. It's kind of like a donut of death here. However, I still got, these are still, how many A-zone hits we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 out of 9 pellets hit A-zone. I mean, like, what more can you ask for? Now, in the second shot, it did that J-hook high to the right thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This I really don't like. So I got a donut of death on the first one, and then I got a J-hook on the second one, which we have seen on part 1 and part 2. I don't know what I'm going to do with this gun, but this gun is going to end up having to get modified. And it holds the most amount of shells. It's 7+1, but for some reason, it really doesn't like a lot of different loads. So I'm going to have to review it and modify the gun. Now, here's the thing. Modified choke, 28-inch barrel, right? First trigger pull, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Awesome. Point of aim was here, and majority of them went right here. I got one flyer over here. Second trigger pull, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Point of aim was right here, and it hit a little bit lower, but that's fine because my spread on the second shot is 8 7/8 of an inch, and the first shot was actually 10 inches. So I'm pretty happy. Now, Federal Flight Control. Talk to me, boys. If you got to this point of the video, comment down below. Comment down below what you think is about to happen. Federal Premium Flight Control double-up buck 9 pellets. What did we get? 18.5-inch. First trigger pull, 9 pellets. Second trigger pull, 9 pellets for an average of 9. 20-inch. Mossberg 500 cylinder bore barrel, 9 pellets. Second trigger pull, 9 pellets. Average, 9 pellets. 28-inch. Mossberg 500 with a modified choke. First trigger pull, 9 pellets. Second trigger pull, 9 pellets. Average of 9 pellets. Guess what? We got another perfect score. 9. So now the Federal Flight Control and the Barnes are tied for basically first place, beating everything else out on the board. Let's look over the targets though. Federal Premium Flight Control out of the 18.5-inch, first trigger pull, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not bad. Right here, a little bit of a flyer. Again, this is a cylinder bore barrel, but point of aim was right here. Point of impact was mostly here, and then we got one flyer down here. Now, second one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Point of aim was here. It hit a little bit low on the second one, but we got 9 out of 9. And now our spread is 11 1/8 of an inch, and then 9 1/4 of an inch. Not bad. Pretty good. Very close to the Barnes. Now, the 20-inch gave us the absolute tightest pattern. So, for this thing being a problem child, for some reason, it absolutely loved the Federal Premium Flight Control because the tightest pattern, right, actually came out of the worst performing gun, which is crazy overall in general. The 20-inch, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So my point of aim was here, and then most of my pellets hit here, which is funny because, like, this gun was, I mean, you saw with the Barnes, they gave me like a donut of death, and then it gave me a hard like J-hook, and then now my point of aim was right here, and then most of them went right here. So with and the first shot is 8 7/8 inch spread. Now on the second shot, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all right here. So my point of aim was right here. All 9 went A-zone out of the worst performing gun. Federal Flight Control, absolutely worth the money. Now, here's the interesting one. 28-inch modified choke. A little bit bigger spread, but still pretty decent. Surprisingly, I'm looking at the data right here, It is actually not too far off from the 18-inch, which is cylinder bore barrel. But with the 28-inch barrel, the projectile is going way faster out of the barrel. 10 inches is substantial enough so that way you can actually get more velocity. So that's one thing we have to keep in mind, right? So first trigger pull, 9 pellets, 11 and 7/8 inch. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So point of aim was here. It went a little high. And then one little flyer here. On the second trigger pull, we got 9 pellets and 12 and 3/4 inch spread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So a little bit to the right, a little bit of a flyer. The group is mostly here. But I will say I'm still pretty impressed because this, you have some room for error. Like if this group right here or the first group, actually you can move it down, up and whatever. So you can still be sure that you're going to get all 9 pellets on target, no matter if you're aiming over here, up here, up here, up here. That's what I really like. That's at 25 yards. But 100% score. That's amazing. Amazing, amazing. So the last thing we're going to do in this video, I know it's getting a little bit long, but we're going to find out basically, if you guys have seen part 1 and part 2, I do a section where it's like highest pellet, lowest spread, and then lowest pellet, highest spread. So basically, which gun is doing the best and the worst with each load, and so that way we know where we're getting our data from. So now, Federal Powershok 3-inch double-aught buck, and this is a 15 pellet 3-inch load. So let me look it over. So Federal Powershok double-aught buck 3-inch. Okay, which gun gave us the highest pellets and the lowest spread? That is actually the 20-inch barrel, surprisingly. Hornady Black, what gave us the highest pellets and the lowest spread? It's going to be highest pellets and lowest spread was actually the 18.5-inch barrel. Surprising. That's the first time it's actually won something. Hornady Critical Defense. Highest pellet, lowest spread. Again, 18.5 inch. Okay, that might be something we need to look into. Barnes Defense. Highest pellet, lowest spread. 28-inch barrel. And that has a modified choke. Federal Flight Control. What did the highest pellet and the lowest spread? And as we saw before, that was the 20-inch. So mixed bag right here. Usually it's all 28-inch, and then maybe once it was the 18.5, or sorry, the 20-inch. But man, I was not expecting this. But I guess Hornady Black and Hornady Critical Defense really do the best out of a shorter barrel, the 18.5-inch barrel. Maybe they catered it to shorter barrels and not longer barrels. But overall, 28-inch has gotten the most W's in this category. Now, let's do the opposite. Let's look at the losers, the extreme losers. What gave us the lowest pellets and the highest spread out of the Federal Powershok 3-inch? Guess what? The loser is the 18.5-inch for the Federal Powershok. Hornady Black, who's the loser there? Hornady Black, the biggest loser was the 20-inch. Hornady Critical Defense, which one was the biggest loser? The 20-inch again. Thank you, my problem child. Barnes Defense. The loser was 18.5-inch, and that's honestly what I expect. And then the Federal Flight Control, who's our biggest loser? Guess what? The 28-inch barrel, which is our biggest loser. But you know what? Let me get this pattern again. Even though the Federal Flight Control, the 28-inch modified choke is the biggest loser. What's funny is Matt Tyree ended up doing a video where he was testing out what was the best choke for the Federal Flight Control, and it ended up being modified choke out of all the chokes, if you have a choke at all. But what's crazy is that this pattern, like say the first one here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's not a bad spread. Again, that's 11 and 7/8 inch at 25 yards. Super lethal. We have all 9 pellets on target. Second trigger pull, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 right there. And then we have 12 and 3/4 inch spread there, right? But you can move this around. Like I said, let's say you accidentally, or instead of aiming center chest, you got the shoulder, you still get a good amount of pellets here on target. So that's actually really good. So I don't know if you guys were expecting that out of the Federal Flight Control, but I will tell you, I still would be fine using a modified choke with a Federal Flight Control. And actually, majority of the time, the 28-inch barrel with the modified choke is doing overall well with most loads on the market. Like I said, most of these had the best with the modified choke and going a little bit faster. But yeah, this is going to conclude the part 3. Hope you like this video. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. Did you expect to see this? How did you expect the Barnes Defense and Federal Flight Control to work? I mean, this I think was $1.25, $1.35 a round. And then the Barnes Defense is basically over $4 a round. So obviously, seeing the data that we saw, is the Barnes Defense really worth the money? If we can get almost, actually, I think the Federal Flight Control did the best and the tightest spreads versus the Barnes Defense. It did a tighter spread. Well, tell me what you guys think. Hornady Black, Hornady Critical Defense. Should we leave that shit alone? And this is only 8 pellets, right? And talking about the Federal Powershok 15 pellets, right? Versus the Hornady Black and Critical Defense. Okay, my question is this. Is it worth going to 8 pellets, and these are 1,600 feet per second, right? So secondly, the energy foot-pounds is a little higher. But is it really worth dropping the 8th pellet to go a little bit faster? Or should you just go 1,325 feet per second to get 9 for sure hits? And then also compare, let's say, Federal Flight Control. Would you rather use this, which is basically regular recoil, versus the Federal Powershok, which is hella recoil? You're going to hurt your face. You get 15 pellets. I mean, you're still getting 12.66 average pellets more than 9, but is it worth having less ammunition in your gun because the 3-inch shell takes up more space? And is it worth the recoil? Honestly, I don't think so, because you can almost guarantee that you're going to get all 9 every single time on your target. So why would you go with this? There's more downsides to going with the 3-inch shell than it is just using Barnes Defense or Federal Flight Control, or honestly, Winchester Super X. That's my honest opinion. But either way, again, thank you for watching. Comment down below, like, share, subscribe. And thank you for hearing me yap. And we're going to conclude part 4 here in a minute, because I'm going to actually start filming this right after this video. But you guys take it easy. Have a great day.